txwelatse is, according to txwelatse, the name of the first man of the chilliwack tribe.
The txwelatse are the stories about, a long time ago when the elders explained the world wasn't quite right, when animals and people could talk to each other, animals and people could transform from one to the other. Through the txwelatse part, I think, we're all connected.
The name txwelatse belongs to our family and all of the descendants of the original txwelatse. And there are many, many, many of us. At this particular point in time, there are only two of us that actually carry the name txwelatse.
It's a celebration of the return of Stone txwelatse to his community after 114 years of being absent from this place.
We are here today to celebrate the repatriation to the Nooksack Indian tribe of txwelatse. This was accomplished with the support of the Stolo Nation under the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act.
One of the parts of repatriation that sometimes people don't understand is what an incredible boon it has been for museums. For the first time, members of Native American communities have felt that not only was it okay for them to come into the museum and behind and see the collections, but it was appropriate, necessary, and part of the law and required that they come and consult with us. And for the first time, we had Native Americans coming regularly into the museum and part of the collections and talking with archaeologists about the meaning of objects and how they should be stored. It was an unanticipated, wonderful outgrowth of the law, and this museum, the Burke Museum, is extremely better place because of the repatriation laws.
One of the things that our grandmas made very clear to us is that we need to follow some of the old ways. Two of our sisters did exactly that. They wanted to honor our ancestor, and by making a sacred cape for him, we believe with all of our hearts that he is the embodiment of our ancestor, txwelatse. The man who was turned to stone. His shwili, his soul, his spirit is very much alive in our ancestry here. And that's the reason that he is being covered such today. This is for us, his family, to indicate to him that we know he is real, we know he's alive, and he's coming home.
The citizens of Washington State own the collections of the Burke Museum collectively. Therefore, even if ethically we believed it was a good idea to return the stone figure, without an explicit legal mandate, we couldn't return it to the Native community. So until we had that NAGPRA claim filed on behalf of the Nooksack tribe with the support of the Stolo Nation, the Burke really couldn't take any action to return the stone figure. Last October 2005, we received a very thorough claim that laid out how this stone figure met one of the definitions of the law, which is object of cultural patrimony. And that's a pretty unique category within the law. There are fewer than 300 objects of cultural patrimony nationwide that have been repatriated to date. And this is the first case where the Burke has repatriated something as an object of cultural patrimony. In 1992, the Stolo Nation were first interested in receiving this object back. At that time, we didn't have a vehicle since they were a British Columbia First Nations group. It wasn't possible for the Burke to directly repatriate under NAGPRA. So once the Nooksack Indian tribe got involved, then at that point, and it was clear that they had made their claim, that was allowed a process where consultation needs to take place. And after consultation, and there's a claim that clearly proves that an object meets one of those categories, we can then repatriate to the communities.
This is really a heartfelt release that this is finally happening. I know Grandma is really feeling good that this is coming home.
My grandmother was charged with being one of the individuals responsible for the stone to come back home. She was also one of the ones that was responsible for taking care of txwelatse.
From the time that he was transformed into stone up in the Chilliwack River Valley, it's been the women of our family who have been responsible for caring for him.
It's been quite a few years, and you know, in Seattle I was saying it was a sad occasion, but it was a happy occasion, just because my mother is not here. My other aunties, they're gone as well. And so that's the sad part, but what the happy part is txwelatse is finally coming back to where he belongs.
Naming tribes is just area, you know, Nooksack, Lummi, Tulalip, you know, you got them separated because of the name. This is something that wasn't our way. You know, we're all one people. You know, that border doesn't exist to us. Txwelatse was found out there in Sumas, but here, 114 years, there was a reason for this, you know. I mean, he's there for teaching, he's there for people to remember, and now he's doing this again, bringing everyone back together.
When I came here in 2000, this stone was in my office. It was actually the only thing in my office when I arrived here. There was no other furniture. There's just this stone. So he greeted me on my first day of work at the Burke Museum. And later Julie told me that she had kind of developed this relationship with the stone, and that she felt that the stone was unhappy in that space. And I also kind of picked up on that vibe pretty quickly, but there was no other place to put him for a while. We were reconfiguring our storage areas, but eventually found a new spot for him in one of our storage rooms down in the archaeology collections. About, I think, 2 years after I started here, I first met Herb Joe, who's the Stolo tribal member who came to visit and was beginning to make a request to have this stone returned. And at the time, I believe it was one of either his grandmother or someone on his mother's side of the family had told Herb that we should be putting the stone to sleep every night and waking him up in the morning because he's a person. So we talked about this with him, and we agreed that we would put a muslin sheet over him when we left work in the evening and turn off all the lights. And then in the morning, we'd take that sheet off and turn on the lights and kind of wake him up. As I've learned more about his story over time from Herb and other folks, I think I've gained this whole new understanding of the stone, and I'm actually going to be really sad to see him go.
I worked at it long enough that I think I had faith that it was going to happen. I just didn't know when.
Catch Part 3, Thanking the Nooksack Tribe, starting September 24th.